there was this crack, and then where the crack happened, light started coming through. And I was over the moon. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get out. I'm going to get out of this. This is great. And so this whole thing is cracking open almost like an egg. And this big, big, bright spirit starts coming toward me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's other people or things or whatever here. I'm not alone, you know? And so this spirit, who's female, comes to me, and she's just huge. She's huge. She's grand, you know, not just big in size. She puts her arms out, and I'm immediately drawn into her arms without her touching me. And she's holding me to her chest, and the darkness is breaking apart in shards. And she's got this like whirlwind of energy that's going around us. And as the shards would come and hit her energy, they would be flung off, and then they would be gone. They couldn't fly around anymore. They disappeared. And so she was like, just with her energy, casting away the darkness. And it just was getting brighter and brighter. And I'm crying, like ugly crying. I mean, I was just overwhelmed that there was somebody there. And I didn't initially know who she was. And so I'm freaking out. And she says, calm yourself, dear one, just in her mind. And I hear it in my mind. I always tell people, if you've ever had surgery, when they start giving you that drug to put you to sleep, you can't fight it, but you feel it course through you. And that's what it was like. It was like her words broke down and coursed through my body and caused exactly what she wanted to have happen to happen. And so then I was calm, and I thought, okay, who is she? She's so familiar. And so I look up, and she's got these brilliant green eyes, and I look up further, and on the top of her head, it looks like flames, and it's this orange red hair. And I knew who she was. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's my grandma. It was amazing to see her on that side, because she died when I was 9 or 10. And so I looked at her, and I'm like, you're alive. And she's like, well, of course I'm alive. And she's like, there's no death. You know this, you learned this. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. And she's like, yes, you learned this when you were really little. Remember, she says, energy can't be created or destroyed. It just changes forms. That's God's law borrowed by man. And I was like, of course, that makes perfect sense. I'd always been a believer, and I had believed in God and was hoping there was heaven. You know, we're all hoping for that, but I didn't feel like I had any real assurance of it. And there she was giving me this assurance based on science, you know, that you do go on it. We can't extinguish your light. It has to become something else. And she was just so comforting to me, and she was holding me, and just very, very sweet. And I kind of got lost in that. And when I came back to myself, I realized I was alone, and I was just floating in the light. You know, just was enjoying it. It was really nice. And then all of a sudden, everything shook. It was more like an earthquake from the beginning of time to the end of time. Like things that didn't even exist yet were shaking. It was crazy. I could feel it all the way to my middle. And I knew it was God. And so I immediately tried to start thinking of good things that I had done, because I'm like, he can read my mind. You know, pull something good up to the front, because I don't know, you know, I mean, there's been some bad, and I don't want him to lead with that. And I couldn't think of anything. I've been a nurse. I mean, I could have thought of a million things, but I was stumped. And all of a sudden, there's this light, and it's much brighter than the light that I'm in. And it gets closer and closer. And he says, I am. And I had heard that a million times, you know, the great I am, all these different things. And I never really understood it. But, you know, he was making this declaration that the creator of everything was here. And I really understood it in that moment when he said that, you know, I'm the one who made you. I'm the creator of everything. You know, everything exists as I will it so. And it was just crazy. And so I'm still trying to think of good things. I got nothing. And so I get this sense that we're going to look at my life, and he starts with good, which I appreciated. And he shows this situation where I'm at a store, and the lady in front of me doesn't have enough to pay for her groceries, just cents. And she's trying to figure out what to put back. And I remember how that got me in my gut, because I had been that single mom for years. And, you know, you always put back the thing that you need, not the thing that your kid would enjoy. And so she's like, well, you know, and you see her putting back like moisturizer, and you know, she's not going to put the kids' mac and cheese back. And I'm like, oh, I've so been there. And so I fish in my purse, and I get what she's short, and I hand it to her, and she doesn't want to take it. And she's just super embarrassed. And I'm like, it's okay. I've been there. Take it. You know, don't put anything back. And it just broke my heart for her. And he showed me that situation played out years ahead. And she's working as a volunteer in this food pantry. And this woman comes in and doesn't have enough food, and she's humiliated and embarrassed. And she's like, it's okay. I've been there, you know, and she packs up this lady's groceries. And I thought, wow, I never thought it that far forward. I thought it was a nice thing to do that day, but I didn't think it would impact her or anyone else. I mean, I'd done some really much bigger things. And I was thinking, I was kind of a little put out by that. I'm like, wow, I did this huge nothing. You want to talk about that incredible thing I did, you know, not just this, but it was that thing that explained to me that what your purpose is in the moment that you're in. It's not some huge, big, grand thing. Everybody's trying to figure out, where are you right now? Who can you help? And that was the importance, that I didn't ignore that. And so then he shows me the bad. And it was this woman that I worked with who was terrible. If you were a patient, you didn't want that nurse. If you were working a hall, you didn't want to work it with her. And she just was it just didn't feel like she was very attentive to her patients. I was always answering her call lights and her IV alarms. And I never said anything negative to her, never talked about her because I hate gossip. But in my heart, I was holding this, over her. And God flashed back and showed me her whole life and showed me the things that her dad had done to her for years. And I mean, it was amazing that she wasn't a psychopath. And here, having been used in her whole life, what does she decide to dedicate her career to? Helping other people. And I'm like, is she doing a great job? No, but I mean, considering where she came from, she's doing great. And God's like, you have to control your thoughts. You're having all these negative thoughts about her, and that has energy, and you're putting it on her, and you're making it harder for her to be who I intended her to be. You're chaining her. And I felt so bad. I thought I was doing so well by not speaking those things and not gossiping and not being hateful to people. But if you're walking around harboring it, you're injuring them just the same. And he's like, you have to look for the good in her and capitalize on that. And then I felt so bad that I hadn't done that, because I had such an opportunity to do it, to point out any good that she did. I could have done that. And it changed me. It was good. There's